So one of the things I wanted to talk about was kind of the lost media, like rabbit hole kind of debate, like not debate or anything like that, but more as in like, you know, something that you guys have found recently, almost like a Mega Man 3 screw or 3.
Mega Man prototype, right?
Yeah. Kind of explain like, is there a new hype behind finding lost media?
I don't know if I would call it a hype, but I feel like anytime lost media is found, it creates its own hype, right?
Yeah.
Because the word itself lost, right? It's lost. We don't know it's coming. So technically there can't be hype for it.
Yeah.
It's almost like when the Shrek animations dropped of like, oh my gosh, look, they dropped what the Shrek was going to look like before. Oh my gosh, they dropped the sketch drawings of Chris Farley with the audio, right? It's like when it drops, that's when the hype, I feel like it builds. Like with us with the Mega Man 3 prototype we found. We didn't know. There was no hype around that.
Yeah.
Lost media because nobody was talking about it. But then we find it and now there's hype. Mega Man people are like, ooh, what's happening? Show us this. Dump the ROM. Let's see what's... Which, by the way, we're dumping the ROM after this with Ben, but...
You think that dumping the ROM and then maybe, obviously, if you're not keeping it, that actually kind of negates the value of the cart that you're going to be
I think that there is some validity to that because there's actually, for Nickelodeon, there's a pretty much like non-existent. Well, there is somebody who has it out there, but there was a movie that they aired for the Rugrats movie. It was the Cat Dog had like a little bonus movie right before the Rugrats played. It was called Fetch. And that is like the original airing, like pilot, I guess you would say, of Cat Dog for the Cat Dog series, if I didn't mention that.
Insane, right?
Yes. So there's only snippets of it that are like available anywhere. I actually own a small snippet of the film reel because somebody took it off of the original Rugrats film reel. Yeah. But it was a separate cartridge, I guess. There was like the last end of it had like a little bit of like the Cat Dog movie. But there's a whole cartridge that has the full short film on it. And it just recently auctioned for I think like $2,000. But I just think it's not many people know about it. I think as you said, lost media, there's not really, until people start knowing about it, it's like who's looking for it, right?
Yeah.
But I think now if it went again, it would probably go up for a lot more because you can't find it anywhere online.
Yeah. Is there a certain hype when you find something and you're like looking everywhere and you can't find anything online about it? Like, do you guys just like get all like, how do you feel about it? Like, let's go ahead.
Blake and I, we do a lot of media. So we do a lot of VHS, even cassettes. We'll find a lot of like cassettes that are released that were only for like bands that were only released like when they were out demoing. Right, like when they were playing, like early on. So they might have tracks that are on there that weren't released.
Yeah.
VHS is a lot of like all sorts of stuff we find with that. Right, might be for movies and stuff. But we do get hyped when we find it. I in fact started like a YouTube channel. It does not have a lot of views on it, but we will digitize and rip a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, but I think you guys keep a lot of it though too, right? Like I know Blake has those like fan-made Spider-Man movies like still in his garage that probably no one has any.
Blake likes to collect a lot of that stuff. Some of it I'll be like, dang, this thing is so cool.
I think that there is some value in I think people do pay, like the guy who bought the Fetch one, like I think he's never going to put it up there because I think there is some value and people want that exclusivity of like, oh, I'm the only one that can listen to this.
That's what I was going to say.
Which kind of sucks, but it's kind of, you know, but.
So that's what I was going to say. By us dumping the Mega Man 3 ROM, making it public, is that like doing us somewhat of a like obviously it's good for the community.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's a service.
But does it give some sort of disservice to like, oh, well, now everyone can just kind of play it versus like, we're the only ones who have access to this.
It might devalue it.
Yeah, what I fear what would happen is what people are really good at is replicas. Like replicating that same cartridge. I mean, most prototypes just have an old piece of tape on it and just say the name and then can somehow figure out how to make
I think for your... Sorry. I think for your... Should we keep going?
Yeah.
I think...
No, actually, you're gonna need to stop. Riff got up. We gotta restart.
Those are emergency. Are we okay?
I'm gonna crap my pants.
He's crapping.
But I think like... How many people could say, like, if they do start emulating it, you guys will always have, like, I think that's more valuable than that, is being able to say that, like, you're tied to all of those emulations that come down the line. That you were the ones that sourced it, got it up online, the heroes that brought it to everybody. You get to become heroes. And I think that for your brand and your personalities, that's more valuable than hoarding it to yourself.
Being like, we're the only ones who know the difference. There's differences, but we're not going to tell you what they are.
That's crazy, dude.
I know. I feel like a schoolroom, like, okay, pass it around. You get it.
I've seen it.
Okay. Yeah, I was
Wow,
like,
Chris,
yeah,
dude.
pass it around. I was like, all right. He was
What about
Well, like I said, I feel like it could not just devalue it, but somebody could just go out there and replicate it
Well,
and then
hold
make
on.
it harder.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention. So as far as the replication, yeah, it's somebody could easily replicate it and throw it onto a generic PCB to be able to play in a real NES. But who cares? I mean, that's just a replica.
Well, no,
it's
but
obviously not going to be able to make it look like the original motherboard.
Like, do reprint comics sell for the same prices as the original, or does it lower the value of the original? Not usually.
Yeah, I mean,
True.
So as far as like
lot.
what to do with the ROM once we do dump it, like I have to say, I feel like it should be given to the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not trying to sell it.
Because what if nobody dumped the Nintendo World Championship cart, and we would not be able to play it? Well, I guess until last year, right, when Nintendo made it available.
Something like that. Yeah.
But like, I feel like that would be a crime if that wasn't playable before last year.
Yep.
That's just my.
You were going to say something a second ago. And then,
Oh yeah. Not only that, we also have I have a game I bought. It's
Oh, yeah.
Talk
This is a
about
big one.
media. It's a Street Hero for the NES. I thought it was I thought it was a Master System game. Nowhere near what I thought it was. It's different developer and everything. Can't find anything online. So if you guys find something online, let us know.
Yeah, that's a weird one. So he found a game called Street Hero, which is a prototype for the NES. So when he first found it, I'm like, hey, we couldn't get it to work. So I'm like, hey, let's just go on YouTube, see if someone dumped a ROM of Street Heroes. We found a game called Street Heroes on the NES, and I was like, oh, this is it. Someone had gameplay of it. I'm like, sweet, someone else has the prototype too, and dumped the ROM. And we just assumed that for like a year and a half. Yeah. Just the other day, Ricky comes over, and I'm like, hey, let's really try to clean that again. We took it apart, which, by the way, had some
was
really
crazy.
weird hard. It took us like an hour to open it, literally. Got it open. I hate to admit it. We had to use a magic eraser on the pins. We couldn't get it to work. We got it to work and boot up, and I was like, this isn't that game that was online, Street Heroes.
Yeah.
We went down the Google wormhole, dude. Every board, every Reddit, every forum, everything. There is no Street Hero on the NES of what Ricky has with the gameplay, with the company. It's a finished game. There is nothing. There is nothing nowhere. And I'm like, that is as far as I know, not the entire world has ever talked about it, one of one Nintendo game. And that's the definition of extreme
Bizarro,
lost
yeah.
media.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind
Does
of
the cart look like it's something that was like a final product?
So-
Looks like that.
So
crazy
yeah, that
thing is,
definitely
like-
adds to it.
Like on the NES cart, you know how it's usually like square,
Like a square?
This thing rounds. It's
like-
like it's different. We're
Oh, so it's
like-
odd in every way too.
It's
I'm
odd
thinking
in
it has
every
like
way.
a perfectly slapped on trademark label. Maybe not.
Dude,
But
we opened. It's got tape like holding the boards together. We're
And
like,
normally
what
there's
is
one
this?
board, but there's two boards stacked into each other, shoved into each other with like a tape on it.
Okay,
And we've
wow.
never seen anything like it ever.
I think that adds to it.
Yeah.
I feel like when we are out hunting, because we come across so much media, whether it's games or CDs or VHS, like when we find lost media, I feel like it's almost like a service to the world, or to the to bring that stuff to light, because a lot of it would just end up in the trash. Like that might be gone for forever. That game. There was I think we talked about it a while back. There was an estate sale where we found a bunch of Steve Bjork was a developer for the Tandy and the Coco computer, and he had all these games, and they were literally, Blake and I went back to this estate sale on the last day, an hour before it was set to end, and they were out by the dump. They were ready to take all these floppy disks and throw them out. And we ended up selling them at auction because we didn't know the value, and they sold for like $5,000, I think. But those guys, I don't know what they ended up doing with it, but I'm sure they ended up finding games and all sorts of stuff that was on there. That's why they paid so much for it, was because that almost was gone for forever.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, dang, we did kind of a good thing, finding that and saving it for the world.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge thing.
I think as fans of the community or whatever you're doing, I think bringing it to people as that service is the best thing you can do, and it whether it's valuable or not, or hurts the value on it or anything, I think it's just the important thing to do, because that's what you're into, right? So 100%. You want to add to that
some type of revitalization. But do you think that also, not just talking about lost media and that being physical, also kind of spawning it to the Nintendo Switch, it seems like they're going to be going more focused digitally going forward. Do you think?
I hate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nintendo. Well, they're doing carts though, right?
Yeah, they are,
cards,
but people are complaining that the cards are priced high.
What is digital cheaper?
I think it's
$10
like
is
$10.
cheaper, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think $10 cheaper is worth it, in my opinion.
I agree.
That's not much of a difference to
Then
me.
you
To
can't
just
resell it.
Yeah, you can't trade it in
Yeah.
at the game store
it was
usual.
$30 cheaper, $40 even maybe, but I feel like $10 cheaper.
Yeah.
Does Switch have that currently where you can download any of their games on the Nintendo
But it's the same
store?
price right now.
It's the
Yeah,
same
same
price?
price, yeah.
You can do that with
They
their
have an online
full
store.
library?
Yeah.
Every game?
Well, unless they take it off the store and then you can only buy physical. It's
a good
kind of
question.
reason.
I don't know who where to do that other than like compare every single game.
I just asked because I've never
So-
even done that. I've only ever bought
In-
physical Switch games. so I
In
didn't even
comparison
know.
to Nintendo, I mean, PS4 has done it with Godzilla. There's a reason why Godzilla is a $200+ game, right? They took it off of their store, and so the only way to play it is physical, right?
Yep.
I never knew what. That's why that game is so expensive.
Well, think
That's
about
why.
think about what happens with Nintendo when they start to go focus more so on the digital side, and there's a game that gets controversial. The Guy game is one of those things that just became controversial.
The Guy
right?
game, yep. Which
Right.
I literally just found for $2 at Goodwill.
It's an expensive game.
I mean, we saw that happen with a lot of the stuff on the Xbox 360 shop that just you can't. There's nowhere to play it. So I think all the stuff like the same thing with the 3DS shop. All that stuff's gonna be. I mean, I don't know. Is it possible for anything to be lost media anymore though, or is there a way somebody's ripped it in some way to where it's still usable?
More than likely.
I feel like it's just going to end up in one of the other consoles since Xbox isn't going to do anything. They're just going to sell it to Switch. Like, oh, let's do revamp
But
it.
what if they don't? You know, I mean, some of the stuff
true.
that just didn't do well. You know, like
And it just dies.
That's
I
true.
guess I don't know like enough about like how the process works of like getting a game, these modern games onto like a computer and then emulating like a PS2 game. You know, you can play every PS2 game through an emulator now. So like, are some of those marketplace games, are those digital only games accessible in that same way? Because like a lot of the lost media now is like because back then we didn't have the internet, you know, so people weren't recording. Like I don't think any show that's been on any streaming platform can be lost media anymore because somebody out there
For sure.
has recorded it.
And probably a decent amount of people.
Yeah.
It is weird though, the things from like our generation that like, you know, much younger where you look at it and you're like, man, I don't remember what it was. There was something not that long ago where I went to go watch it and I'm like to my son, I'm like, oh, you got to watch this show. It was so funny. And I was like,
There's no way.
you can't watch it. And I was
Unless you
like,
find like somebody who has an old
what?
cassette tape or VHS tape.
It like hurt my brain. I'm like, we're in the modern
Well-
age. It's everywhere. And I'm like, I'll pay. Nothing. I don't remember what it was, but I remember I was freaking out. I was like, I cannot watch this. There is no way to watch it anywhere in the world.
The only way that you were able to get things back in the day was their archiving methods, in which most studios used to do is, oh, this show's done, throw it into storage.
Yeah, or trash. A lot
Or
of them.
trash.
Nickelodeon, a lot of their stuff, they just threw it out.
So actually, for the most part, like when it comes to like animation cells or Disney, they like employees were told to destroy anything that came to them, and so when it does leak out, that's why they're so expensive. SpongeBob is the same way.
And that's why you had people outside of Disney's offices in their trash can digging for animation cells
Smart
and
people.
making big money off of that stuff down the line. I mean, at the time, they probably sold it for like $30, $40, but they would have, you know.
Do you think that the pricing for physical media going up, even though that it's kind of been the same over time, but do you think people's complaints are, you know, kind of bogus?
It's funny. My retro life. It's funny. Actually, good. I almost am like, dang, Tyler, you put out the video too early. He did a video like a week before the Switch 2 was announced when everybody was talking about prices, and it was him talking about game prices. And he's like, no, guys, he's like, game prices are cheap. He was showing like he pulled up like every old ad, not just Canada.
Yep.
And he's like, games were this, consoles were this, Neo Geos were this is what it was. Panasonic 3DO, I think his family paid like thousands of dollars for. He's like, media has always had, you know, if anything, he's like, think of everything in the world that exists around us. Prices have all gone up. Housing.
That's what I was saying.
Clothes.
Kristen's like-
food. Everything.
yeah.
But games were pretty much like this.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's not, and this isn't me arguing for Switch, saying raise the prices. I'm not that person. I'm just saying it is interesting. It's like the only thing that's stabilized. And they're like, no, we probably are due for an increase.
Bro, I'll be really honest. I'm a huge advocate of buying stuff after the hype.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
I mean, my parents never had like that much money to buy it, and like so we never bought anything new. We had rental stores to go test it out, or we just waited for like a GameStop, or because that was my store as a kid, was GameStop. Go buy it used. Don't buy it brand new.
Still to this day, I've never bought a brand new console. Ever.
wow.
Everything we've gotten has always, when we were kids, it was always used. As far as I can remember, always used. And even now, when I go to buy stuff, I always wait for the hype.
Even the NES.
Ben's just smirking over there because he buys 40 of every new
Everything,
console and
everything.
puts them in storage.
Yeah, he
Just
buys.
20.
I'll always just wait
That's
a little
hilarious.
bit. Like, the PS5 was out for like probably a
Yeah.
year before. I was like, all
I
right,
bought
I'll get my
mine off
PS5. Yeah, I was like, all right, now it's $300 or $350. Okay, I'll get it now.
As dealing with like game customers, did you anticipate the backlash of the Switch being the games being slightly more? Like just dealing with customers.
Most recently?
Yeah.
Not yet. I mean, we've talked about it a little bit on here, and we don't sell new games, so
Okay,
it won't.
gotcha.
Like, we will wait till those get traded in.
Traded in, yeah.
Will it? But so if it's an $80, are they saying they're going to be $80 brand new? Is that what they're saying
Something
right
like
now?
that.
Yeah.
So that means the used market is when they first get traded in, depending on the game, it's probably going to end up being like 65, right? So that's going to be kind of
Which is
different.
better, though.
Yeah, it'll be a savings, right, from brand new, but that's still going to look pretty high on my shelves. I've never had. Obviously, we have games worth more than $65, but they're not brand new games.
I
Like,
remember
that's
Gabo was buying PlayStation 5 games, and a few of them were $80 back in the day too. I was like,
what
why
I
was
was
nobody
gonna-
talking about that?
I think the thing is like how much were PlayStation 2 games when they first dropped like back in the day?
Expensive.
Like 50, 60
They're
bucks.
$60
Yeah.
though.
That's what I'm
50,
saying. Like
60.
GameCube was
But
the
that
same
was
way.
20
it's
years
a
ago.
wonder
Yeah.
that it's a wonder that they haven't gone up earlier.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like nobody wants to pay
and
more
this
money
is
for
me
anything.
arguing for
But
wanting to pay more.
No.
I don't.
yeah,
And-
exactly.
I still remember going to Bradley's in the 80s with my dad. Bradley's and buying Atari games for like $40-$50 back then.
Yeah, and that's for Atari games.
It was an
The
Atari
80s,
game.
yeah.
Just-
He's so mad about it. That was the worst investment.
it was always the worst investment. I always felt let down, and I'd be like, "What the heck? This is what we got."
Put it this way. Put it in like the '90s view. Like back in the day, the Super Nintendo games were $60, right? That's back when you can get like a soda, like a liter soda for like 80 cents.
Turok, $74.99 for 64. Doom 64, $74.99. Wayne Gretzky
So when you
3D
put it like
hockey.
that, like how much does a liter of cola cost now? Like $3.
And that was a lot more money back
So
then.
just multiply it like that.
Literally.
Like 3 times 60 is what it should
What would
cost
that
now.
be today? Like 110.
Yeah.
Right. I
Well,
know.
someone
Maybe not to that
astronomical.
extent.
You know
Yeah,
what I
so
mean?
like,
yeah.
you've always been paying that. It's just they've kept the price, and I
So
would rather.
basically, it's a mystery why games have not gone up.
Exactly.
It's a mystery, but also like, why is the public perception so surprised?
I think because there's a bunch of babies that play video games. That's
Well,
why.
we are in the age of right.
Dang.
No, let's say we are in the age of social media, right? I say this about a lot of things. Like, the reason you don't hear a lot of things back in the day is because there was nowhere to say it. You grumble inside of your own house and
Very
go,
true,
"That's
very
expensive." But now everyone that goes, "That's expensive," instead of doing that, they go,
Amplified.
"That's expensive."
And then I think we live in an enabling culture too. Like, I mean, obviously, we remember the Sonic whole situation with the animation looking terrible. It did, but people complained about it enough that they actually changed it. So maybe people are thinking, oh, if we just complain enough times,
The prices will go down.
they're going to drop
No,
it because they won't
no.
do that to us.
Maybe that's why they do complain
True,
about it.
actually.
They're like, "Oh, this game sucks," and they're just like, "We're gonna get it for $40 in 2 months."
But I would rather all day they sell me the game at 80 and it's a full game rather than sell me it for 60 and give me half a game and I have to buy DLC, another DLC, a bunch of
They're still going to get you
microtransactions.
for
Dude,
both.
I'll be honest,
But if it's a little less-
bro. I'll be honest. Call of Duty dropped Verdansk back into Call of Duty, the map that I like remember playing with my buddies for hours. I instantly bought every single pack that I could that actually benefited playing Warzone.
I think you're right. There
Pay
is
to
a
win, baby.
good part of I bet you obviously these developers, when they're like setting their prices and they're having their discussions, are like, man, how are people going to react? How are people going to react? And I think that has kept like Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo in check for a long time. But I think it finally like boiled over where Nintendo was just like,
Screw
"Here,
it.
screw you guys. We have like the best IP. You're going to buy this. Here you
Nintendo
go."
especially.
And Nintendo's like, this is what it's
I'd say
costing
if
us.
anybody's doing it, at least it's Nintendo because at least for the most part, they're like the Mickey Mouse, right? They're pretty universally like accepted and loved by the majority. And I've want to reiterate, no, we're not like championing for like raise the prices.
Yeah, exactly.
But I will say there are certain games too, though, that like I know that a lot of games nowadays do take more people to work on. I think the biggest crazy thing, the new Assassin's Creed game. Did you guys see how long the end screen, the credits were?
No.
2 hours and 16 minutes.
Insane.
They just had to prove a point. They're like, just put the janitor, like everybody. The guy that
Is
came in
it
here for the light
real?
bulb.
Real,
It's not. No way.
real. A guy,
Rolls for
yeah, a guy from, named Craig from.
A lot of hands in it, man. A lot of
Oh my gosh, I feel bad.
Well,
I forget his name.
how slow was it scrolling though?
Either way,
Jake Johnson brought
Right.
us coffee.
either way.
Let's count the names.
no,
and
one of
let's
my-
get a quantity.
Bro,
count
one of my
first.
favorite end screens will still be Guitar Hero when you're playing that long song and it's a dragon song. It's just doo-doo-doo, and you just see you're playing through it at the end.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah. You never
I
seen
mean,
it.
I think we talked about this last in the podcast, but I was like, I would pay $500 for Tears of the Kingdom. Like,
Okay.
I really would.
Wow.
I get so much out of that game.
Think
I
about
know that sounds crazy, but I feel like I got $500 worth of value.
Game
That's
store
true,
owner
but-
is delusional.
But you gotta think about it like this too.
Title.
I would think about it like this too, but we buy the games even for Nintendo right now, right? How many of the expansion packs do you buy for everything? Like the Mario Kart, all that stuff. The Amiibos. The Amiibos are, if you think about it, it's almost like a little gimme. I bought a ton of the Zelda ones just so I can play Breath of the Wild and get all that extra stuff.
Yep.
So it all adds up. In the end, you're like, dang, I'm close to 80. Well, actually, with the Amiibos, it's like even more. And the expansion packs, it's even more.
I've spent more money on free-to-play games than I have on regular games.
Yes, thank you. yeah.
Paladins, I probably spent $700.
How they get you.
I had to get off Clash of Clans. That thing was deadly. Ugh.
What the argument
So
we were making
expensive.
before is like when you weren't here on the last podcast was basically like think of a game like for me like Super Mario World. Like if I think about the amount of hours I've played for that, it's not that I would pay it, but say I was paying $10 an hour. I'm probably thousands of dollars that I should be spending on that game because it has given me years of playing.
Yeah, and I think that's like again, like I think nobody wants the prices to go up for no
Yeah.
reason,
Yeah.
but I think of all the things in the world that are going up, that's not the hardest pill to swallow.
Well, I will say I was like kind of like chuckling when people were complaining. I was like, bro, these people don't complain for the past 10 years when the entire economy is like, psh, can't afford groceries, rent, food, and then we're like,
My
oh, the
video games.
Switch game went up like $10.
But you know,
Dang it.
one thing I don't know who is talking about this, but it's setting precedents. So Nintendo is
Yeah,
going
now
to set precedents.
Sony and Microsoft
yeah, they're
will
like,
follow.
Absolutely.
Sony had to do it first.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. They were all hesitant to do it, but I feel like Nintendo was the one that could do it.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Because they
Yes.
were like, you guys, listen, the product we're giving you guys,
It's so
is
unique, right? You
good
can't get Mario
and so
anywhere else.
unique.
Sony then probably slipped them some money like, hey, listen, we'll give you guys a cool mill. You
Don't
guys
you
break
think
Oh,
they
you
talk
know
about
those
that?
guys were like, $80. Yeah.
parties, dude.
Don't you
Go
think
on.
It was
don't
their
you think
moon
they all
landing.
collaborate? I would not doubt.
I don't
that.
know about that.
Well, think about this. I mean,
It's like the
I don't know.
how many copies of a game does a
could
big
be
game
right.
sell?
I don't really know. I mean, all I know is the one that's going to sell the most is Grand Theft Auto for sure.
Well, let's just
sure.
say Grand Theft Auto. Let's say any game. You say when we could put it as into example as
Like 100
Expo
million
owners,
copies.
right? You raise the price by $10 and you get so many sales. That money can equal a lot. So when you're a video game company, you're selling 20 million. I don't know if that's the number times 10 extra bucks
10
each time.
extra dollars
Yeah.
is.
I mean,
How many
100
copies
probably
of Mario
100
Kart
million.
sold?
Yeah.
oh
Was
gosh,
it 20 million? Was it 30 million?
what is it? Mario Kart 8?
And you're talking across all their games now. You're talking like hundreds and
many
hundreds of
copies
millions of
of
Yeah,
dollars.
Mario
and
Kart
you got
8
the
Deluxe
growth of
sold?
just like new games where it's like, they just, like I said, buy a skin. Those microtransactions add up too. You buy one for $5, a million people buy it for $5. It just.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think Nintendo puts out an amazing product.
half
I'm
a
happy
billion,
to
right?
support their
It's a $500
product.
million.
$500
They
million is what extra they would have
Extra
made
they're
by
gonna get.
Mario Kart raising for $10.
That's
That's
just
a lot of
$10.
That's a lot of dough.
Billion.
yeah.
Half a billion.
Hey, what about? Do you guys think the indie developers
That's
will
good
still
math.
keep that same price, like
Is
$40?
it the Mr. Krabs
Oh, yeah,
drool
yeah.
coming in?
Yeah, that's just Nintendo, right?
Independent developers are sure going to still
They're still stick to that little
make their
little-
mark, and still independent games can go huge and become the biggest. I mean, Rocket League was a throwaway game almost that nobody knew about, and then PlayStation decided to put it on PlayStation Plus, and they're like, oh, no one really plays it. Let's put it on PlayStation Plus. It was
Such
free,
a good game.
and then it became bigger than almost like a Minecraft. You know.
True. All right, guys, you guys got to quit complaining about your game prices. Go check out my boy Marcus over at Comfort Cartoons and ADH World. His channels will be linked in the description. All the episodes are linked in the description. I updated
We're
them.
charging $10 per episode to watch now.
Hey,
Don't complain
big
about
thank
it.
you to you guys for having me here.
Thank you.
Heck yeah, man. Now, we appreciate your time as always, man.
an
And
honor.
guys, SoCal Gaming Expo is coming up. Please
Retro World Expo
get
as
your
well.
tickets.
Yeah,
Yep.
Retro World too.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No vested interest. No, I'm just
Yes.
kidding. Retro World
You're
Expo. Please go to the East Coast.
I know. They might even come.
Yeah. All right.